everyone, and welcome back to my second channel. So it's been a long time since I've done any videos or updates on my clothing line, so I thought it was about time that I do one and I just talk about some things that I've been thinking about recently, some things that I wish I knew starting a clothing line, some things that I've learned, and some updates about my third collection that's coming out this summer. Just a bunch of kind of random stuff, so hopefully you find it interesting or informative or entertaining in some capacity. Okay, so as you guys know, I came out with my second collection, and that one launched in January 15th, I want to say, is when it launched. So my first collection launched July 15th of 2022, and then the second collection, and now my third collection is hopefully going to launch again in July of this year. We're currently working on samples. So I'll talk about that a bit more at the end, but I wanted to start with some stuff that, like, what I wish I knew, what I learned, and that sort of topic category. Okay, so the first thing is I wish I knew how long things took when initially starting out my line. For example, I think when we think about clothing, especially in terms of like fast fashion, you don't really realize how long it takes to make a collection, even a small collection. Like my collections are only, you know, for example, for the third collection I'm doing, it's only a dress, 2 sets, and a top. That's it, okay? And so that's a pretty small collection. So I think when we think about things, we're like, oh, it shouldn't take that long. But when you're producing something that's ethically made, and especially using sustainable fabrics, it takes a long time. It is slow fashion. And I didn't realize, I guess, how long things took, which is fine. You know, I want to be ethical and sustainable with my line. I want to, you know, make sure that I'm doing slow fashion. It's just, you don't really realize at first. So when I'm designing collections, I have to be thinking way ahead, which sometimes can be really difficult because, for example, I'm going to have to start designing my collection that comes out in the winter in the next like couple months. So you're designing things that are 7 months ahead of when they're actually going to launch, which is a long time because you don't really know what trends are going to be. Not that, you know, you're necessarily keeping up with trends as like fast fashion companies do, but still you could come out with something that's you think people are going to love, and then by the time it gets around, it's already been done by other brands. People aren't really interested anymore. You know, so it can be difficult in that capacity. And also, I just didn't realize how long like the prep work took. And so sometimes I would be thinking to myself, oh my gosh, in 7 months, I'm supposed to be launching a new collection. Like I should already have my designs done. Like I should have already been working on this. And then I'm trying to, you know, allocate the appropriate amount of time because I don't want to rush anything to designing new pieces. And sometimes it can get really overwhelming. So that's the first thing I wish I kind of knew, is just how long stuff takes, especially when you're doing things, you know, more ethically and sustainably. I think if you're starting your own brand and those aren't as like high on your list, then you wouldn't worry about that as much. You'll have definitely faster turnaround times. But in terms of my brand, things do take a long time. Even thinking about my third collection, which is going to be launching in July, and I sent those designs in before my second collection launched. So it's going to be 9 months. Like you're designing things almost a year in advance, which is very stressful. Okay, now the next thing I kind of wish I knew better, or how to predict, and this is just a learning curve, is what items are gonna sell and what items are not gonna sell. So I will be totally transparent and, you know, tell you guys what items do really well. For example, my Serafina slip dress that I designed does really well. It's already sold out in a couple sizes. My Luna Lounge pajama set, that one does really well. A couple of my other dresses, like my pink dress that I came out for my second collection, that one does really well. But other pieces just don't perform as good, like my bikinis. My Riley Ruffles set bikini, which is my favorite bikini of all time, has done really well. I don't have a ton of them left. I just have a few in each size. But for example, the blue bikini that I loved, I thought it looked so gorgeous on people, especially with darker skin tones. Like one of my models she had a darker skin tone. Well, it's not past tense, but she has a darker skin tone. And when she was modeling that bikini, I was just in awe. I was like, you're so beautiful, and this color complements you so well. Like, I just thought it was gonna sell a lot better than it did. And I still have so many of those bikinis left over. So now I'm going to have to, try and do some big sales on it. So that definitely sucks because you're going to be, losing out on money there. Hopefully breaking even, but at this point, just any money is better than no money for certain items, just because certain things, just don't sell. People don't love it as much. And that can be really difficult to try and predict and to know. So when I was designing my third collection, based on what's sold well before, that's kind of what I did. I was like, okay, people like sets. So I made a couple sets, and people liked the pink dress. So I'm coming out with another dress that's a color. So that's what I was thinking about when designing my third collection. But when I came out with my first collection, I obviously had none of that data or stuff to draw from. Like, I had no idea. So when I came out with for example, my blue bikini, I thought it was going to be a top seller. I honestly did not think it was going to stay on the shelves, like, for example, whereas I thought my Luna Lounge set, I didn't think that one was going to sell as well as it does. So I was very surprised by that. So that's something that's definitely a learning curve. And I mean, you obviously can't predict these things, especially when you're coming out with your first round of clothing. Like, there's no way I would have known for my first collection, but it definitely can make things difficult when I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all these bikinis on hand and I'm getting new pieces in. So now I'm gonna have to do some sales and whatnot, which I think is great for you guys. It's just, it's a bit of a hit to me, but that's okay. It's all a learning process. So it's okay. You just have to take the little failures as learning. And I'm now for my third collection, I'm only coming out with one bikini set and a one piece because that was really requested from my audience. So that's what I learned. In terms of that, for my second collection, I did really take into consideration feedback. And one of the big feedback points was that my extra large and large size weren't big enough, compared to other brands. So I increased my size grade. I increased the amount of centimeters or inches when you're going up. So for example, when I sent a couple pieces to one of the influencers that I work with, and she normally, the first time she bought a size extra large for my first collection and it fit her, it was great. And then for my second collection, she picked the same size, extra large, and I sent the pieces to her and they were too big. And that's because I had to increase the size grade because people were just saying it was too small. So it's better because it can, suit more people, and it's also more aligned with what people usually wear. A little coughing fit if my eyes are red, but I have a tickle in my throat. But that was one of the things that I also learned from my first collection. So again, because I'm not I didn't go to fashion school, or I'm not a super experienced designer, these are all things that you just have to, learn from and, take into consideration when you grow, and try not to let it get too down on you. Because it can be difficult when people are critiquing something that you pour your heart into. But at the end of the day, it's all constructive usually, and you just gotta, apply it to the next collections. Okay, now on the topic of influencers, since I mentioned that, I don't do a lot of PR for my brand. I don't send a lot of, free clothes to influencers. I don't do that. I do it here and there. The exposure can be great. And there's a lot of things that I take into consideration when I choose who I want to work with as an influencer. And as an influencer myself, I also know what to look for, right? I look at not only their following, but their engagement. Are people actually commenting and liking on their posts? Because someone might have 100,000 followers, but they only get 5 comments on their posts. So I can see that people aren't actually engaged with what they're, sharing online. So it's probably not going to be as good for my brand in terms of exposure, because people won't really be engaged with it. Other things that I look for too is, are they following even my brand? It's because you would be so surprised at how many people reach out to companies. I've even made this mistake in the past. I'm not gonna lie, when I was first, reaching out to brands to work with them, I wasn't following the brands either. And that was like a mistake on my part. So it's no wonder that certain brands didn't want to collaborate with me, because it looks really bad. And that's something that I've learned from. If I want to work with a brand, I should probably be following them to show that I support them and like their pieces. So when influencers now reach out to me or my brand to work with us, and they want free clothes, if they're not following us, it's not like I wouldn't even consider them. So they, you have to be following the accounts, because that also just shows appreciation, especially when you want free stuff, free clothing. And on that account, I've worked with some influencers who I absolutely love. They're sweethearts. They've even given me some, feedback on my pieces, which has been super helpful. And I love working with them. It does help my brand. I get some more followers and more exposure, sales, all of that is great. There are benefits to working with content creators. There definitely are. But I have also had a couple negative experiences working with content creators where they just won't post your content, like they won't do the work. Like I've sent people products before and they just ghost you, basically. So because I've had those negative experiences, I'm way more hesitant now to work with influencers, and it just sucks because it ruins it, for everyone. And it is true, because now I'm going to be way more selective with who I work with and how much PR I actually send out and all of that. So, it definitely sucks. I've had the negative I've had the good with the bad, of course. But it happens. And a lot of the influencers that I've worked with have been wonderful, and they've posted some beautiful photos that have really helped my brand, and I've added them to the website, and it's just gorgeous. So you just got to take the good with the bad sometimes. Now, one of the other things is, like I mentioned, because I use a lot of, really all sustainable fabrics for my brand, sustainable in comparison to just polyester or whatnot, there are a lot of limitations, which I also didn't realize, which is really frustrating sometimes. For example, even when I was designing my third collection, there were so many different things I had in mind. I wanted to do patterns and prints, but you just can't do that on eco-friendly fabrics. Well, I can't, because I don't have the capacity to. It's economies of scale. As my business grows, then I can afford that, but as of right now, I can't. Because, for example, I wanted to do one of my sets as a print and have this beautiful floral design that I had made, but I had to make 900 of them using the fabric that I wanted, the eco-friendly fabric that I wanted with the print. If I wanted it to be printed, I had to make 900 sets. A, I can't afford that. That's insane. B, I just wouldn't sell, I can't sell 900 sets of one thing as my small business right now. I also don't even have the place to put that. It just doesn't make sense. So I can't do the print. But, there are other options. If I don't want to use an eco-friendly fabric and I just want to use polyester, I can print, just 100 and have a smaller amount. But one of the main things about my brand and when I'm creating stuff is that I want it to be sustainable. I want it to be using these wood fibers and recycled materials. That's the part I love. So I have to choose one or the other. And of course I choose the eco-friendly. And that can be really difficult sometimes because my visions can't come to life just as I, had originally wanted or pictured them. But it's a sacrifice that I have to make right now. And hopefully as my brand grows, I'm able to, make more pieces and expand my line even more. And then maybe I will need 900 sets to sell. Okay, so now moving on to the second category of topics is just how's my line doing overall? How do I like it? How's it performing? All of that stuff. So I do have some goals for myself for this year. My first goal is breaking even for my clothing line, because currently we are not, a year old yet. So my brand is still very new, not even a year old. So I will be fully honest and say that we have not yet broken even, and that is okay. A lot of businesses don't even make a profit for the first 2 to 5 years. So one of my goals this year was to hopefully drive sales and break even. That's my goal. But at the end of the day, this is my dream. And if it takes a little while, it takes a little while, but I am determined and I'm going to persevere and it's gonna work out. I am going to be confident and work hard to make sure my dreams come to fruition. And then in terms of just like how I'm loving it, I am loving it. I love, doing the photo shoots for my line. I love designing pieces. I love the whole sampling process, even though it can be, difficult and stressful and sometimes disappointing when I can't have things come out exactly as I wanted. The whole process itself, I still love, and this has been my dream since I was really young. I've always wanted this. So I'm going to work hard to try and make it happen, And my other goal for this year has been to really ramp up my social media marketing, because that's free marketing and I should really be taking advantage of it. I don't have a lot of capital to expend on certain things. So I need to be ramping up my TikTok and my Instagram. So that's something those are goals that I have for myself, that I need to be posting more on those. And my other goal is that by the end of the year, I want to have 10K on my Instagram account. I want to hit double digits for my Instagram, for my clothing line, of course. And right now we're at 6,000. So we have a long way to go. But I think if I stick to posting consistently, which as of right now, I don't, but I am about to finish university, so I think I'm gonna have some more time. I'm going to post more consistently to grow my accounts and, get my brand out there more. And there has been some really exciting things that have happened for my brand recently. Like, for example, we were featured in the April issue of Tatler magazine, which is a high society British magazine. So that was really exciting. And then we're also going to be featured in another magazine as well. I just can't share it yet, but that's also really exciting. So my brand is slowly getting out there more and more, but it is a goal of mine to just increase, how much I'm posting so that people can get exposed to it. Okay, now the third category that I have is just about my upcoming collection, my third collection, and I am very excited about this one. They just sent over the pictures of the samples that they've made, and don't get me wrong, there are some tweaks to be made, but the potential that I see in these pieces, I love. And again, I couldn't make these exactly how I wanted originally because I couldn't do any prints, but nonetheless, I think they are absolutely beautiful, and I love them so much. So the overall aesthetic for the bikinis, you guys have already seen the prints. It's like a pink and green plaid. Those are going to be more separate. I'm going to do a separate shoot with those, and my plan for that is very much like bikini cowgirl. I've been seeing a lot of inspo on Pinterest of photo shoots with bikinis, and horses and fields and cowgirl boots, and I love it. I think that print goes so well with that aesthetic, and that's my plan for those two bikinis that I'm coming out with. Now, in terms of the other pieces that I designed, those ones are very much Marie Antoinette meets Girl Next Door. I love them. I love them. I think that they're so gorgeous. And what's really exciting, guys, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I am going to be shooting these pieces in the south of France. So right now, nothing is set in stone yet, but I'm remaining optimistic and super positive that it's all gonna work out. But right now I am working with a photographer, and we are going to be booking a chateau in the south of France, and I'm actually going to be making the whole thing like a girls trip. So it's not just like a business trip. The whole thing isn't just expensed for my business. I'm going to be using it as an opportunity to travel with my friends as well. I'm graduating this year, so it's going to be like a little treat to travel with my friends. And we're going to be modeling my line. So one of our stops is the south of France, and while we're there, we're going to do a castle photo shoot one day. And because there's so many chateaus in the south of France, booking one of those is way more affordable than booking a hotel. So we're gonna probably be staying in the chateau for a couple nights anyways, just because it is cheaper accommodation. But I am so excited. The clothes are just gonna go beautifully with that aesthetic. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited, and I don't even know what to say. I want to show you the designs because I want it to be a surprise. But I will show you, for example, like when they send samples, because obviously my manufacturers, I've talked about this before, but they're in Singapore. So when they send me stuff, it's by mail. But for example, this is an entire bag of swatches. And then I have another entire bag of swatches. And you can see here, these ones are non-eco-friendly. So I basically didn't even look at those. But when you get a swatch book, I mean, there's so many in here. We'll take this one because it's really big. This swatch book is for eco-cozy fibers. I didn't end up using this one, but you get this huge swatch book. Okay, and you get a ton of them. And when you're designing your collections, this is what you have to go off of. And then this is what I ended up going with for my fabric. So that big bag gets compiled down into one little bag. But this is one of them, this very like soft blue waffle. It's like a thinner waffle, so it's better for summer. I love this color. I think it's so classy and very elegant. And this one, I'm just going to be, so this one is organic cotton. Then we have, I'm going with this one right here, this light pink for something. And this one is made from Tencel, which I've used before, Eco Tencel. And then this one I'm so excited about. I'm using this for a couple things for the next collection. And there's this gorgeous fabric with these little like white dots. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I think that this is very like French Marie Antoinette aesthetic. I love it. So gorgeous, very coquette princess. And this one is, I had it here, Eco Vero, I want to say. Yeah, Eco Vero. So those are what I chose for my third collection, and it's not a ton of pieces. And then the bikinis are, of course, made from recycled fishing nets. So we're keeping it consistent with the bikinis. That is basically everything that I wanted to touch on, a few updates. And it was really requested for me to come out with a one-piece bikini. So I did want to make sure that, well, I guess not one-piece bikini, but a one-piece swimsuit. So I did want to make sure I came out with that. And those two swimsuits were actually supposed to launch with my second collection, but they're taking a little bit longer in terms of sampling. So those are going to be launching with the third collection, which is why they're, not with the second collection. But yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to touch on, chat about. I have been getting a few questions on like what's been going on with my clothing line. So hopefully you guys, I don't know, found it a bit interesting or informative. And yeah, and you got to see a little bit more behind the scenes of what it's like to be a business owner and run a clothing line, especially, as someone who is not a full-time fashion designer. It's a learning process for the both of us, but I think that's what makes it really beautiful. It's all a learning experience, and it's nice to be able to grow with your brand. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any other requests, please leave them in the comments below, and I will see you in my next one.